Hello, everybody. My name is Nilay Patel, and I'm the owner, designer, and educator here at SilverSilk and more. And I want to welcome you to my little happy corner of the world, which is the SilverSilk channel. And in this, I get to just chat with you guys, have a good time. We get to do some beading together. This is a live show, and so for those of you in the future that are going to be watching this, I hope you enjoy the show. But also, if you don't enjoy the chatter and just like this stuff that I talk about, you can always fast forward to the actual tutorial setting of it, and there you can learn today's project, which I'm excited about. I get to use some beads from one of my favorite bead companies, Jesse James Beads, and I got to kind of revisit an older project that I had and revamp it with some new beads, give it a new colorway, and it really just transformed it completely from what it was before. And so this was a great sort of revisit toward that. And I know for a lot of us that are out there as well looking into the future, that are going to be new to Silver Silk, this is a great entry level beginner project that you can do with just a few materials. The key ingredient, I guess, to this design is really having the specific sizing on the materials that I'll try my best to cover today. I might end up skipping over a few things because I just forgot about it, but I will make sure that I answer questions that you guys might have as we're together. And yeah, we'll just go over all the tools and materials and thorough as best as possible. So I'm enjoying my cup of coffee. I hope you're having a lovely Saturday as well. I'm going to flash over the picture of the project. Ooh, and also I think I need to stream over to some other pages that I forgot to include. So while we're doing that, I'm going to flash over the picture of today's project. And we're just going to go ahead and dive right in to our materials. Well, I want to cover tools first, really, because there's only a few that we need. But there is a pair of cutters. And let's see, we'll need a pair of wide nose pliers dipped in a product called Tool Magic. There we go. And we will also need a pair of chain nose pliers. So I have those out as well. This is really going to be the core materials that we'll use. I like to have a pair of round nose pliers on the side just in case. And I think that's about it. Maybe some nylon jaw pliers since we're working with craft wire. But otherwise, this is pretty much it. I like easy projects. What can I say? As far as materials goes, we will need some 26 gauge craft wire. This is in a copper color, which is going to be excellent for especially durability and the ease of use. Some metals, such as gold and silver, tend to be a little bit more rigid and brittle whenever you use them. And so copper is an insanely soft metal. And because we're also using copper beads, it just is going to be a really great, I don't know, a great complementary color to today's project. But you'll roughly need about 12 inches of the 26 gauge wire. So I went ahead and pre-cut some. By the way, we're making earrings, and so the materials that I show you here, you'll want to double up on. So when I say 1 foot of the copper wire, you'll actually need 2 feet, 1 foot per earring. And then I'll just go ahead and go through all the beads for the one earring that I'm going to put together, keeping in mind that you'll just double up the materials. This is the double strand end cap in the copper color, which has been compared to rose gold. I've got my fingerprint on that, so I apologize. They're insanely shiny. They have 5 metal platings on it that give it that exquisite shine and amazing quality. And it does have little teeth on the inside, as you can see. And the little teeth grasp onto whatever you're filling it with. So in this case, we're going to be using capture chain. And so the ball chain core will be the thing that it bites down on. And it's got 2 different channels, which will be, of course, using both for creating the canvas for our um, beadwork to go on it. And it's just a really great high-end component. It's got my little SilverSilk stamp on it too. So of course you'll need 2 of those. I've also got a earring wire, also from this custom plating SilverSilk findings collection. And then I've got, I should be flashing over to my comments. Some folks are already tuning in. Hello, Stephanie. I was worried that you would make it into today's class, but I'm glad you got to pop on in. Lori is here as well. Hi, Lori. Miss Donna, can't have a class without you. Hi. Oops. So good to see some familiar names pop in. Maria, so lovely to have you here. Teresa and Greta are here in the land of SilverSilk Silkies. Teresa is my brand ambassador for our amazing group. So thank you for joining in. All right, so guys, just keep the comments coming. If you have any questions, again, I'm monitoring on the back end that I can answer them as we're moving along in our class here. All right. So we talked about the size of the beads being an important part of today's project. So I'm going to do my best to name these off in size as we move along here. This is a 14 millimeter faceted coin bead. And I believe I named all of these in the video description and over on my YouTube channel, which, by the way, you can subscribe to if you haven't already. And there I've got a giant library of videos. But I did my best to name the sizing of each bead there. I believe this is an 8 millimeter pearl. Yep. And then we've got, so you'll need one of those. You'll need this Rondelle bead, which is about 6 millimeters. You'll need 2 of those. Okay. You'll need one 6 millimeter bead. I've got it in a blue color here. And then you'll just need a couple of Rondelle-esque beads here. These are longer, so they're going to be about 8 millimeters by 4. So you'll need 2 of those. They kind of remind me of rice pearls, actually. And then these are just small copper spacers. So I'm going to set those out to the side, but you can kind of see there. And you'll need 6 of those. And then a couple spacers just for a little glitz. Okay. And then you will also need 2 terminators, which look like this. These are used to cap off the ends of SilverSilk. And they have a very nice, clean finish at the end. They are also in that same copper color as well to match with the rest of the plating. And also this sort of copper theme that I'm going with the colors here. These are beads from the Jesse James Beads mystery box from their latest theme, which is Strawberry Fields. It's a beautiful collection of all sorts of soft pastel colors. You've got baby blues, whites, pinks, pops of red in there. Definitely lots of copper. If that is your metal finish flavor, it is mine sometimes as well. So I feel like that soft sort of red coppery tone goes so well with the pink. So I'm just in love with all of this color that I'm using today. So last but not least, you will need some capture chain. I've got a little strand out here to the side, and this is just a scrap piece. We're probably not going to need more than a couple inches of it whenever all is like said and crimped at the end. But I like to work with a little bit of extra on hand. That way I can get the size just perfect whenever it is all ready to wrap up there at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this scrap in half. This is probably about a 6-inch scrap. And so I'm working with like 3 inches for each channel of my finding. And I'm just going to use my wire cutters to cut it in half. If you're new to what capture chain is, it is a knitted wire chain that is essentially it's a wire as thin as human hair that is knitted over a filler material. In this case, it's ball chain, and it's a silver color. So you got silver wire that is knitted over a silver ball chain. And it is extremely lightweight, it is supple, it is flexible, it's metallic, and it's just an amazing material that is nothing out there currently like in the market that could ever compare with it. And it is made by me, which I'm very, very proud of. And it's just, again, it's just such a fun material to use. So I am going to grab my double strand end cap and I'm going to go ahead and just thread both of my silver silks directly right into those channels. And I'm going to grab my wide nose pliers. You'll notice that the tips are white, and that's because I've dipped it in a product called Tool Magic, which basically makes a rubberized coating on the tips of my pliers. And it's easy to use whenever I'm crimping. They grip whatever I'm holding and they don't cause any sort of marks or nicks in my findings whenever I press down on it. But you just sort of clamp it shut using your pliers, nice and flat, and it should look like this. That seam should be super close there at the end. So this all looks great to me. And that's sort of the first step to this project. But now we're ready to add our beads. And all you do to get started is you're going to grab your 26 gauge wire and you're going to count 2 beads below where the chain goes into the end cap. Once you've done that, you can basically just thread this right through as such. And what you do is you grab your small 6 millimeter bead to start with. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to count 2 beads of the ball chain and you're going to sew right through it. Okay. If your wire starts to get kinked up, as it is here, you can grab those handy nylon jaw pliers and just smooth it over. And you will have a pretty good working wire again. And I'm just going to go down toward the center of my wire so I've got the same length that is working on both sides there. Once you've done that, you're going to grab 3 of those small spacers. These are about 3 millimeters in size. So just a 1 millimeter bigger than the beads of the ball chain, actually. And you just drop those down. You're going to count 3 beads of the ball chain. So here, let me grab some sort of pointer. First when I need a pointer, it's not handy out. I think I've got a beading all here that I can tell you. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So it's going to go right in between those beads there. Okay, and you're just going to simply pull all that through. And you'll notice that these beads just sort of stack on top of each other, which is perfect. And we'll do that to the other side as well. So I'm just going to flip this around, string on those 3 copper beads. You can substitute this with size 8 seed beads or even maybe size 6. Size 6 might be a little bit too big, but the copper spacers are probably most equivalent to size 8 seed beads. With the exception that you might need to string 1 extra on, perhaps, just depending on where you land. But there you go. So I've counted 3. Here we go. So 1, 2, 3. And then just go through that space between the beads of the ball chain and just go ahead and pull it. So here we go. Should look like this. And now we're ready for our centerpiece, which is this round coin bead. And what we're going to do is crisscross our wires through it. So you'll string one side on and then go in with your other wire from the opposite side in. So again, they're just crossing each other. And when you start to pull it tight, the bead should just land smack dab in the center there. And before you tighten it completely, I'm actually going to go back out through the knit where I came in through with my opposite wire. So that way it's sort of seamless on the outside edge here. My wire's a little kinked up, so just straighten it out and just approach it at a different angle and it should go right in. There we go. Normally, I'd be doing this very close to my nose, and I'm not today. It's kind of hard to do a little bit a detailed work with teaching since I'm trying to make sure that all of it's in focus. There we go. So now you're ready to do the outside edge. I'm getting a little bit kinked up there with the wire, so I'm just going to grab my nylon jaw pliers and straighten it out. I think I'm at that point with these pliers where I really need to change out the jaws and get some new ones in. Okay, this will flip around on you a little bit, the coin bead, but as you sort of stack the other beads, it'll help to kind of keep it more in position. If it's still flipping around on you later, you can always add a little bit of either Loctite or E6000 right where that bead hole is and on the chain, and it'll just basically stick in place. So there's always ways to sort of cheat the bead work in case it's not flowing correctly as you want it to be. Okay, I'm going to stick on my little rice pearl bead there. And I think it's the same. We're going to just count out 3 beads of the ball chain. 1, 2, 3. String right through. And we'll do the same thing to this top side. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So about right here. Just like that. And simply pull it through. You can sort of tighten this up and get it real close to the knitted wire there. Sometimes you just have to pull things individually, but it'll stack on top pretty well. And after that, we're ready for our last row here, which is this white spacer. And then we've got our, let's see, we've got the Rondelle Rhinestone. And then we've got this white pearl. Okay, and then that same pattern backwards. So we're going to do Rondelle and then the white spacer again, like that. Okay, and I'm going to cross the other wire over into the same set of beads so that both wires are going through them in opposite directions. So should look like this. And before I tighten it, I'm going to go back through that same knit space again with the wire. So essentially, it's sort of like macrame, but not really, since we're not knot tying. We're just kind of using 2 separate wires to weave through and, you know, meld all this together, weave it all together. Okay, so there we go. Once we sort of pop that coin into place, everything should fit correctly. Now, at this point, I'm not going to do any sort of securing with my wires just yet. I'm going to actually trim this down and attach my little 4mm terminators before I end up completing this. So to do this, I'm going to count 2 beads of the ball chain from where my wires are going through it. So 1, 2, and so I'll cut it off right here. And I will do that to both sides. And don't worry, this stuff does not fray. That is part of the technology of what SilverSilk is. You can cut it anywhere, and it's not going to come apart. Okay, so what you might get at the ends are a little bit of these frayed ends that I call wire fuzzies. What I do is I just go through and I pluck them off. They tend to get in the way of crimping, and it's going to happen no matter what you cut. It's wire at the end of the day. It's going to have I should say it's knitted wire at the end of the day. So it's going to have a few things that come out whenever you cut it off at a certain spot. So I'll go ahead and pluck them away. Okay. There we go. All right. So I'm going to grab my little terminator, as we see here. And the idea is the same as the end cap. We will just simply string it right on. I want to make sure that the top of my terminator is in line with, is in line with my end cap, and so that it's not turned on its side. What we don't want to see is a seam whenever we're wearing our earring, in the facing direction here. We want to make sure that we see that nice smooth side. So I'm going to flip it on its side here, and then I'm going to grab my wide nose pliers and carefully pinch over that last couple beads of the ball chain. You'll know that it's secured, that when you tug on it, it won't come out, and that seam should be just equally as closed as the seam from your end cap from before. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that to this end as well. If you're having a little bit of trouble fitting the end cap into and this applies for both end caps, into the SilverSilk into the end cap, you can grab your chain nose pliers. I've got a pair here, and you can insert them into the end cap and then just kind of press against the plier handles a little bit to open it up. Even a millimeter will help tremendously slide that SilverSilk right in. Sometimes they're open completely and sometimes they're not. It's just, if it isn't, now you have a way to do it. All right, now I'll just go in and press, press, press. Make sure it's not going to come out. And that's looking really great. So now what I'm going to do is take the end of this wire and I'm going to basically just kind of rotate it a couple times around the end cap, or close to where the end cap is. You'll notice that because it's the same copper color, it's just going to disappear against that end cap completely. And what you can do is actually just trim it off directly underneath where that end cap is, and grab your chain nose pliers again and tuck in any end of the wire that's sticking out as such. I'll do the same to this side as well. 1, 2. Okay, bring it around to the back side. You'll know it's the back side because it's got no stamp on the SilverSilk end cap. But that doesn't mean that the earring has to be worn one way or the other. It's totally up to you whether you decide that the SilverSilk part is the front side or not. Luckily for this particular earring design, there is no right or wrong direction. They both look exactly the same. And that's pretty much, oh, you know what? The other thing is just actually adding in my earring hook. Whoops, and I did it backwards, of course. There we go. And then I have a pair of fabulous SilverSilk earrings that I made on the fly. So fun. I may go back and add a little drop of glue just to make sure that that coin bead doesn't spin on itself. But otherwise, these are fairly easy to put together. I think, again, it really just depends on what materials you use to really make this design successful. The big two beads that you want to make sure that you have are the 14 millimeter coin and the 6 millimeter round bead, because those are the sort of cornerstones for this design. And then you can put anything you want at the bottom and it's still going to look spectacular. I chose these bigger beads to fill up that space between where the coin bead edge is, and then just found some smaller beads to stick in between. So that's essentially the sort of secret that that creates this design. And that's basically my tutorial, I guess. Setting my pliers aside and thinking, I don't think I've got anything else to talk about. So I'm just going to scroll through these comments real quick. Debbie says, beautiful. Thank you, Debbie, over from Facebook. My girl Susan is in the house. I'm going to hang some chain off the bottom raw. Bottom row too, excuse me. That would be super spectacular. I love that idea, Susan. Yeah, that would give it a lot of movement too, wouldn't it? A lot of shimmy. Hey, Kim, so good to see you on here. She says, very pretty. Star says, hiya, very pretty. Thank you, Star. Vivian over from from YouTube. Doggone, I'm late. Girl, you're never late. This is all recorded anyway, but I'm glad I got to flash your comment as you came in. So good to see your name pop in. Well, guys, I'm going to flip my camera back around to me, and I just want to say thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure when I can hop on and show you these projects and teach you some things from the Jesse James Beads mystery box, but also just with SilverSilk and what magical things you can do with it. I've got a tutorial planned for next week as well. That one will be pre-recorded, and so I won't be able to tune into comments because I will be on vacation. But I mean, I guess I'll be here in some sort of spirit, mostly to teach you guys. That's the most important part. But I need to recharge some creativity, and I've been reassessing my office. So what background I had before changed yet again, and I'm just, getting better with storage and kind of putting this entire space together to make SilverSilk run more efficiently. So with that, hopefully you guys will have a creative Saturday. I know I've got a ton of orders from you guys. Thank you so much for supporting my little store. But I've got a ton of orders I need to get through and get over to you guys. Especially some of that is the Great Bead Extravaganza kits that I am so excited about. For future people, this is a part that you can skip and move over to a YouTube video. But I'm excited about this project. I actually have a printed pattern for this. And guys, I worked real hard to get this looking the way it does. It's got all the instructions. It's a no-sew project for bead weaving, which is unreal. I'm sitting here looking at it. So those of you that order the kit will get the printed version of this pattern and all the secrets on how to not bead weave gem duos together. So I'm pretty proud of this one. Alrighty. I love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging with me today, and hopefully more videos to come. And I will check you guys again here on the YouTube channel, but also the SilverSilk Silkies Facebook group. You guys are doing amazing with posting projects and ideas and inspirations and beads and just making that a real happy place for me and the rest of us to be in. So thank you for doing that. And I just love you guys so much. All right. I'll catch you later. Happy Saturday.